Before this video begins, the following won't be in relation to any project cancellations or lengthy waiting periods between self-sufficient releases. The discussion is specifically focused around fan efforts to bring back Nier Reincarnation and the pushback that followed. To offer some context, since I rarely talk about this franchise on the channel, here's the TLDR so that we're all up to date. Nier is a Square Enix-owned multimedia franchise, including 3 mainline games, not counting alternate versions or remakes. The games in question include the original Nier for the PlayStation 3, its very popular sequel, Nier Automata, and a project called Nier Reincarnation. This last entry, confirmed to be a proper numbered title by the central figure of the IP, Yoko Taro, took the form of a gacha game, which launched in 2021 and reached end of service in 2024. Since the game featured important narrative developments, yet lacked an offline version post its closure, there have been fan efforts to bring the project back in some capacity, with the latest of said efforts receiving mass reports from Japanese fans, thus effectively terminating it. Now, there's a myriad of questions that arises from a situation like this, so I'll try to cover the most important ones here, and should you have any additional info on the situation, do share it in the comments. First off, since this was a free-to-play game, why would fans of the series oppose a fan-oriented revival? It's not like the game is being pirated in a conventional sense and taking away profits from a company deserving of them. Well, the best that I can get from Twitter's shoddy translation tools is that this attempt at creating private servers is a breach of the terms of service, and had the desire to terminate the fan project come from Square Enix themselves, I would have understood it. They're obviously legally in the right to protect their intellectual property, and were known to, unfortunately, take down similar preservation projects in the past, example being Accord's library, despite evident fan outcry. Having said that, the reports that stopped the revival came from fellow fans, not the company, which creates this bizarre state where a series known for encouraging selfless sacrifices for the sake of fellow players has its community betray this instilled value in an attempt to protect a different perceived value. We'll get to that later on though. I'm sure at least one person would reach this point of the video and simply wonder, why would you care anyway? This is a gacha game, and you can still read a story synopsis and look at the pretty costumes either way. There's a few things to note about this particular premise. The most important one is the fact that this is specifically a Yoko Taro project, the work of a man known for breaking down boundaries of what games are as a medium. While there are bits of lore scattered all across light novels, IP collabs, stage plays, and the like, the core of these experiences are the games themselves, and the way they mess with the player due to the medium's conventions we're all accustomed to. If you presented the story of Replicant, Automata, hell, even the 2 Drakengard games that he directed, exclusively in written form, without the interactivity, or the genre blending, or the fact that the player's personal choices are integral to an ending's impact, you would lose out on what is likely the biggest reason for the overwhelming passion towards these games in the community. Reincarnation may be a gacha, but it is still a Nier game, and deserves to be treated with the same respect as its predecessors, rather than be reduced to a cutscene compilation on YouTube. Plus, would you believe me if I said that a different Yoko Taro-helmed gacha game actually got some semblance of preservation through official means? Yes, the often overlooked Sinnoh Alice also reached end of service in 2024, after a little over 6 years of operation. But the Japanese version of it still lets the players look up cutscenes, character bios, roll for a small selection of characters, and partake in brief gameplay sections, all with the UI deliberately altered to show you that this is a place of memories, rather than a still thriving service like it was in its heyday. The fact that something like this wasn't attempted for Reincarnation, despite its mainline status, is genuinely surprising to me, which led me to believe that the game would receive a console port or remake in the months following its closure. I personally fall into the category of Nier fans that never beat Reincarnation. I still have the app downloaded on my phone from when the servers were nearing its end, but I never got to fully experience it for myself. Even then, I bought a digital copy of its art book the moment it released, because the amount of effort in the project was astonishing to see, and served as a massive love letter to both Nier and the infamous Drakengard series that it spun off from. With all of that said, the fact that this bizarre situation surrounding Reincarnation is still transpiring led me down a different train of thought, one that will continue off a statement I made earlier in the video. It will be easy to simply state how select fans opposed to the creation of fan servers are just quote-unquote bootlickers, but there may be a deeper reason to the opposition. I assume most people who clicked on this video are in the know about Nier's history of save data dilemmas, but I'll still keep the following descriptions relatively vague. If even that is too much, skip to this timestamp to avoid spoilers. In the original version of Nier, for the PlayStation 3, the way to reach the final ending involved sacrificing your save file to save the life of a character that's been by your side for most of the adventure. It's a hefty price to pay, but one many would still accept, considering the impact that the associated writing carried. In Nier Automata, you have the option of sacrificing your save data to help out a fellow player who may be struggling during the final playable section of the game. Just like with the previous entry, if you delete your save file, that's basically it, provided you didn't copy it on a separate hard drive. Following this logic, it would indeed be a thematically fitting choice to have the third game in the series be conceived as a gacha, an experience that will reach its end no matter what, meaning that all you could really do was make the most with your time while the app was still around. Insert quotes about Carpe Diem and Una Sanas. Had the series maintained this choice of permanent erasure for the sake of bittersweet sensation and memorability, I would honestly understand this end goal, though I may not necessarily agree with it. However, this is where the other side of the matter finally shows itself. The original Nier received a remake, or remaster, depending on your definition, in the form of Nier Replicant. This entry implemented an additional ending to the campaign based off a story from a grimoire. This ending, provided you reached it, would actually bring back your save file, allowing the journey to come full circle and offer a silver lining to the player who chose to dedicate so much effort to this incredible journey. In a similar vein, Nier Automata had a very particular cheat embedded in its code, one that would allow any player to reach the final sections of the game and unlock the associated chapter select and debug mode if they knew the method. Cases like these were deliberate inclusions to the releases, ones that paralleled the more dire outcomes of their initial dilemmas, while still staying true to the core messages and values instilled by the games. It's because of instances like these that the act of fans fighting fans over a preservation effort hurts so much. When I think of the highs that I've had with the series, I remember the choice to delete my save file in Replicant, not knowing that there was a silver lining until I later on went for the platinum. In Automata, I remember the myriad of emotions as Weight of the World played on, with the choir later elevating the experience, which cemented this as one of the most moving memories I lived through. It's because of such experiences that I sought out everything that Yoko Taro was involved with, and why I wish to speak on this matter despite my channel revolving around a different IP altogether. I'm making this video in the hopes that the infighting will soon end, and that by some stroke of luck, Square Enix announces an official offline port to Reincarnation, in time for the upcoming franchise anniversary. It will be a great way of putting this whole saga to rest and bringing everyone back together, cause no matter your opinion on whether this game should be preserved or remain a memorable relic of the past, it's evident we all care about the series in question. It's just that we express our care for it in different ways. Brief addition at the end. It would appear that the conversation surrounding this project has now even further ballooned into a grander discussion surrounding differing cultural views on art, ownership, what constitutes as preservation, and so on. Frankly, my entire timeline is almost exclusively comprised of said back and forth, and the choice of words is becoming less than ideal. I refrained from covering select aspects of this matter, so that the video wouldn't be mislabeled as a generalization of either side. To clarify, there is genuinely a solid amount of Japanese fans appreciative of the efforts described in the video, and there's obviously people who are simply indifferent towards the events of a community beyond their place of residence. You could perhaps chalk up the negativity surrounding Reincarnation as but a small yet vocal opposition, but fact of the matter is that the wheels are already set in motion that could doom future fan efforts the same way as the ones of the past. And I think everyone deserves better than to be subjected to that. There is no meaning in demonizing either side by clinging to self-imposed absolutes, and this is something that could have been inferred from the Nier franchise itself, but I digress. Whatever outcome awaits us beyond the publishing of this video, I hope that what transpired here serves as a lesson for all involved. With all of that said, let me know your thoughts on the questions surrounding Nier and game preservation at large. It's kind of strange that all of this started happening while I was working on a proper script surrounding the Drakengard games and going for the Platinum and Voice of Cards, but the universe clearly has a sense of humor, so I'll just leave it at that. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed today's discussion. So, until next time, take care of yourselves and have a great day. Cheers!